About 2 years ago, I was driving home from a family reunion pretty late at night. The drive was around 2 hours long, and I didn't stay the night because I had work early the next morning. Most of the trip was through those kinds of roads you only see in horror movies. Thick trees and bushes on both sides, no lights, no houses, just endless darkness. I'd been driving for maybe 45 minutes when it hit me. That sudden, heavy tiredness that just drops on you out of nowhere. My eyes were getting heavy, and I knew I wasn't going to make it the full 2 hours. Problem was, I hadn't seen a single decent place to pull over. Just trees, road, and more trees. Eventually, I realized I had no choice. I spotted a patch of grass off the road and pulled over, trying to hide the car behind some bushes so I wouldn't be seen by passing cars. There weren't many, but one would come by every few minutes. I checked the clock, 11:22. I told myself I'd just rest my eyes for a bit. Next thing I know, I'm waking up to this scratching sound. Light, slow, like something brushing against the door. I looked at the clock, 11:50. The sound stopped after a few seconds. I was still half asleep, so I figured it was a branch or maybe some small animal. I closed my eyes again. When I woke up the second time, that same sound was back, except now it wasn't stopping. Just this slow, steady scraping right outside my door. I looked at the clock, 12:40. The first thought that hit me was, why would an animal come back an hour later? My heart started pounding. I leaned forward and glanced into my rearview mirror, and that's when I saw something. Just a quick blur of movement, running back into the forest. It wasn't big, but it definitely wasn't a raccoon or anything like that. That's when my brain decided to remind me of that old urban legend, the one about the couple who parked on a deserted road, heard scratching on their car, and later found out it was the hook-handed killer. Yeah, that one. I wasn't about to stick around to find out. I turned on the ignition and got the hell out of there. I'd barely gone 100 yards when I hit a bend in the road. As I came around it, I saw another car parked off to the side. Driver's door wide open. I slowed down just enough to take a look. The car looked empty. Then I glanced at my rearview mirror. Nothing. And then, out of nowhere, this guy comes sprinting around the corner behind me. Full speed. He's waving his arms and screaming, "Hey, you, get out of the car, now." Nope, absolutely not. I slammed my foot down on the gas and tore out of there like my life depended on it. I never saw that guy again. Never told anyone about it either, not until now. A few summers ago, I went for a bike ride around midnight with a friend. At the end of the night, we went our separate ways, and I had about 2 blocks to ride back alone. Because of construction, I had to ride on the sidewalk. The streets were dead, so it wasn't really a problem, until I got to the point where I was about to turn left onto my street. That's when I saw him, a man walking by himself, maybe in his 40s, a little scruffy but definitely not homeless. The sidewalk was narrow, and I didn't want to freak him out. So I stayed about 6 feet behind him and said, "Hey, behind you." He turned around and gave me this insanely angry look. I turned down my street, hoping he wouldn't follow, but he did. And he wasn't just walking. He started screaming at me, calling me a fucking cunt, and threatening to kill me. I live right off the corner, and I didn't want him figuring that out. So I decided to ride another loop around the block to throw him off. That's not even the scary part. The scary part is when I looped back and looked down my street. There he was, standing on my front stoop, just staring at the street. He had seen me ride by again, and he didn't say a word. It was like he knew exactly where I lived. I ended up riding back to my friend's place and stayed there. But 2 days later, my bike was stolen from the alley next to my house. Looking back, the guy wasn't homeless at all. There's a large population of mentally ill people in our downtown area, so I wouldn't have said anything if the sidewalk wasn't too narrow to pass. Half the fear was that he looked completely normal, like anyone else in the neighborhood. I ended up texting my mom, and she decided not to call the police until the bike was actually stolen